Good evening, everyone. Hello, chickies. Hi, Jennifer. I can't believe that this is episode 7. We have one left. It's like pretty amazing. So, I planned on doing something just to organize in my brain a little differently. I'm going to use the word chicks. CHICKS to cover everything. So each letter stands for something. They think it's spam. Oh, geez. Wait, this is hilarious. It rejected it because AI thinks that I'm putting in spam. So let me put this in. Let me try that. My own message. It rejected. Okay. I think because I put a period after each of the letters. So they're going to stand for something as I organize my thoughts and we chat. So can you believe this is the last, the next one's the last episode and we're done. I'm curious to see what's going to happen with season 2. And I know that we've talked about this and we're all hoping that we get a season 2. I actually was in touch with the publicist for the show. Same publicist that is in charge of many things. She's a very busy girl. Also in charge of The Way Home. Anyway, I had asked and reached out for the possibility, especially towards the end when it's all over, because you're more free to talk, to have some of the peeps on. And she was like, go ahead. So I'm going to try to arrange things. So maybe, I don't know if they'll be able to be free next Sunday, but maybe, a day or two after or during the week or something like that. Or even if we had KJ back and she really was able to talk openly about her feelings about the series. Hi, Avis. Carrie's here and Jennifer and Avis. Hello. Okay, so I think we'll get started. I know, let's see, we're like 2 minutes in, but I always like to chat and say hi to everyone. And we're in a weird spot, I feel, because I still have like Halloweeny things going on in my own house, but I'm all into Christmas countdown. And I am right now, one of the Christmas movies is on, and I love the actor who's in it. So I'm taping it. And also I've got this. So I feel like I'm like a little bit of everything. Would y'all, don't tell me. I was going to say, would y'all think of last night's movie, but don't tell me because we're going to talk about it tomorrow. Okay, let's dive in. So the first C this week was on fire. Oh my goodness. Carrie, every time I think I've got my favorite episode, the next episode is even better. So I would have to say that every single episode, not that there was anything wrong with the first, but just kept my attention and improving and really made me want to never miss one of the episodes. So kudos to the writers and the directors and the actors. Yay. Okay. Everything is yay. All right. So let's get to the C. The first C in chicks is, for me, it was come together, because that's exactly what this episode was about. It was about everybody everybody but one, and that would be Frank Jr., coming together, especially Nancy. Nancy goes to church and she sees Pastor Hunky. Where is Kathy? I have to borrow Pastor Hunky or Pastor Hottie. I don't know. What do you want to call him? Because he is such a cutie patoot. And I don't know if it's just the chemistry naturally between the two actors or if it's supposed to be played that way, but it's like he kind of gets into her space when they're having a conversation, and he always has this cute smirk on his face, the pastor, when he's with Nancy. And she's asking about praying and well, let's pray for a miracle, and he's like, the humans have to do it. And so she gets the whole town to come and help out Gus. And I know in the back of Nancy's mind, she thinks it's her son, but it's just not something that she wants to know and admit. Like when they have her waking up, when she looks over, they did everybody sleeping. I love when they do something that's similar, right? And then they have her waking up and looking at by her bed, the little picture of her son, who is just Jerk Jr. You know what I mean? He's just Jerk Jr. He really is. Carrie, this week was on fire. Avis. My favorite line was from wait a minute, I'm taking that down, Avis. Don't you hop on that yet. Don't you swing from that pole yet. Hold on. Okay, so anyway, all coming together. And I mean, in every way, like the entire town was showing up for each other. Like that, not only were they helping Gus, they were helping each other in all kinds of ways. The mother and the daughters, the sisters, the different everybody was helping out except for one, and that one would be all by himself sitting in his restaurant with no one there, and that would be Frank Jr., right? Everybody was helping out. And I loved how they did come together. I really liked how Sabrina was she could have she could have filmed. She's like, let it roll, right? And then when later on May is running back to her and she's like at the very like towards the end and she goes, oh please, please, she goes through her whole speech, please don't if you put that on, it will be ruined. All generations of females are going to be ruined of all the hard work that they've done in my family. And Sabrina's like, yeah, well, something weird, happened to the camera. And then her cameraman goes, yeah, you told me to turn it off. And then, May is kind of like backpedals. I do love your show. It does have merit. It was funny because everybody's heart was in how they tried to delay Sabrina from coming, just everyone. And I loved it. It was like the whole town coming together. It reminded me of When Calls the Heart, when the whole town's come together before. But do you remember? Because we saw Nancy leading the way in this, and when they had those of you that are When Calls the Heart fans, the girl who was blind and she wasn't allowed to come to school, and the whole town, all the kids rather, backed her and walked her to school. I thought that was great, right? Minnie and Joseph's daughter, and that was beautiful. And this kind of like was like what this was. Let's see. Frank Jr. was hung over in the phone booth. Are there still phone booths around? Avis, that's what I talked about last week. I'm like, what is it? The one phone booth in the whole world? And ooh, I don't even want to know about that phone booth. And he drank all kinds of stuff and was had a hangover, which is there's none in my town either, which I thought was wild. So that's my C is how they come together. It was great. Now, the H is the humor, which is all the wonderful sayings that they pepper in, because if not, this would be a very sad and depressing episode. And I love the humor. And let's go with Avis. Avis, this was my favorite, Avis. Oh, when Gus says, when she was talking about her place, right? And she's like, it's cleaner than a stripper's pole on Monday morning. That's like wild. And there was cute stuff about like the narrator is talking and says having your business in the street, which I've heard many of times, but just as they're describing, they constantly put those little fun little sayings. Again, I think there's somebody with a book with all of them in there, sort of like their version of the Bible, which we will definitely have to ask the writers about that. I'm feeling more mixed up than a bowl of bar nuts. That's Nancy. She's famous for all those sayings, but she's trying to have a heart to heart on the phone with her son. And yes, stubborn as a stain. That was really good. That was a good one. And then when Gus was mad at Nancy and she goes, I'm eating sorrow by the spoonfuls, and you're here to see that the bowl is never empty. Like, between Gus and Nancy, they've got the best one-liners. And again, smart writing, because again, it could have been just very sad and depressing, and they peppered it with humor with these one-liners. Then the I is for infidelity. Now, do you remember last week I was curious to see how they would show it? Would we get to see what like the morning after was like, or the walk of shame? And let me tell you something. Amanda, who who said, "Oh my gosh, I don't want anybody to see me," paraded through town, ran through town. It would have been better if she ducked and hid in the truck and he dropped her off around the corner. And he being Sergio, they wake up together behind, in the back of the truck together. So we know she went there. And she's running through the streets. I mean, running through the weeds, the trees, tries to hide behind a sign, and you could still see her legs. Yep. They did. They woke up in the back of the truck, Avis. And that's my eye for infidelity. But that's not the only thing I think is about infidelity there. Like cheating is what I really want to say. But that's what I mean by that. It was that sense of feeling that many of the community members, they wanted to help, yet they felt like they were cheating. Remember, they were afraid to even step in. The Franny folk were afraid to step in and eat, especially that husband and wife team that's always in Franny's. And then when they did, they wanted extra helpings. And I thought that was cute, because even though they're loyal to their peeps, they also know when someone is in need, and they're loyal to their peeps, which would be the whole town. And I really like that. But there was that little hold up. I'm sure you noticed that. I thought that was funny. Let's see. I wanted to talk about on show. Okay. One of the things about the cleanup, that's the next C, the cleanup. One of the things about the cleanup that it kind of ruined it for me. This is the only thing that ruined this episode, but the episode was excellent. I don't know how you all feel about this. I don't like when, and I know there's a technical term for it in the genre, but I don't like when the cast like suddenly steps out and talks to the audience. I don't like that. And it's not that May talked to the audience. It was that because she didn't think she could do it. It was such an emotional thing for her. She had to pretend that she was on the show, and the way she would talk. And there was even one point when she was standing around the junk and she's talking, and Jay and I think Amanda look at each other and say, "What's she doing?" And they're like, "I don't know." But this is how she was getting herself through it. And for me, the cleanup is not just about the physical cleanup. They did a lot of cleaning up, relationship wise, with everyone, the sisters, the mother with the daughters, even Amanda with Nancy. There was like a cleanup. I'm going to see what you're all saying here. Did you notice the couple that came into Franny's was handed the plate that was the catering and holiday crashers last night? Oh, you know what? She was on both. She plays a funny part and she's the one that buys all the leggings. Um, she's funny. Yes. She was in both. Cool. Yes. And Jennifer saying, yes, she noticed that. Yes. Good eye. Y'all got a good eye. The cleanup part, like I was saying, it was more like about cleaning up with your relationships as well. I'm glad Jay's there. And it kind of broke my heart because May said this twice. She said it when they woke up. And of course, they were sleeping in different beds, she and Jay. And she was like, I want you to know that that I'm worthy of your love, or I was afraid you wouldn't think I was worthy of your love. And then she says it again towards the end where she's like, worth loving. She says that about herself. And he's like, of course you're worth loving, which kind of like was sad for me. That was really sad. And I know that happens to people. I didn't know if you picked up on that she said it more than once. That's part of the cleanup. It wasn't just a physical cleanup of her house. That was sort of like a metaphor for like the cleanup that needed to go on between all of the characters. I liked the part even where it's so easy for Gus to talk to Sergio, and they're sitting on the chairs together having that like that big heart to heart. And she says, I just wish I could have like a do-over. And he says to her, you can have a do-over, which I think sparks her to kind of be a little irrational about things, but we'll get to that. I like, I was just trying to look at the relationship parts of it. Now, I'm sorry. Now the also the cleanup, Frankie finally realized what kind of, yes, her mother and aunt grew up and she did. That was another sort of the cleanup. And she pulled certain things out. And then at the end, which we'll get to, she discovers a letter. And you could see that the seal was still closed, right? It had never been opened for whatever reason. And that comes, I'm using letter S for that in a minute. But also with the cleanup of relationships, I was thinking about Frank Jr., how in the beginning we found out why he became such a crud of a person. And the thing is, he doesn't ever clean up his relationship. I feel like there's still no redemption for him. He's sort of like, and I guess somebody has to be the antagonist. We have a little bit of antagonizing with Sabrina, but we get to see a softer side of her every now and again. Not with Frank. And we saw how when he was a young boy, the father thought he was the greatest. And then when he became a young man, and it just wasn't his thing to stand before people and talk about numbers, and he needed some self-confidence and it wasn't there, it let the dad down. Then the dad excluded him to the point where the only way he knew to get his father's attention was to say like really terrible negative things like, oh, I hear that, Mimi's is down on their luck and haven't paid their bills. And he's like, oh, well, I'll take care of that. And so it kind of made this hole inside of him, more or less what the narrator said. And nothing can seem to fill it, which is probably why he drinks. And he was drunk in the telephone booth. Did you catch what happened when the sheriff came to get him? He called Frank Jr. called him by his name, and he's like, "That sheriff, like basically sheriff to you." And when he's getting in the truck, the sheriff turns on the sirens, and he's like, "Do you have to do that?" And he's like, "Yeah, I do for my enjoyment." He wanted it to do it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Anyway, the part where I was talking about the father, like he had this hole inside of him, and then it was too late because the father died. So even still to this day, he's still trying to I don't know, live in his father's footsteps or shoes. Remember they had that was cute where they showed the big boots and then the little boots. But the thing is, I love when Nancy's like, yeah, maybe she even used nice words. Maybe that's not what you should use as a barometer for measuring who you are as a man. Frank Jr. was a disappointment to his father and didn't want anything to do with him. Frank Jr. wanted to make his dad proud, so that's why he made the call. Yep. Even though it was a cruddy thing to do. And that's why Nancy kind of in the back of her head knew this, but when it all comes out with the cleanup, when Nancy decides that she's going to pay more attention, and then she takes a look at Amanda and she sees that she and Sergio are still in their same clothes, and she's like, did you betray your husband? And she's like, he betrayed us all. And then Nancy still doesn't want to believe it. And then she actually confronts her son and she realizes. So there's a lot of airing out. And it was just, like I said, it was really good. And I know we're coming to the end, but K I put down in chick. So we've got the C was come together. H is humor. I was infidelity. C is the cleanup. And K is kin. So I liked so much how Gus takes Amanda with her. They barge into May's place or her hotel room, and they see she's like, "Who are you?" Right? Nancy told Frank Jr. to take care of his wife and daughter. Yes, she did. She did. She's so mad about it. Yeah, because Avis, this is also Nancy panicking because even though she in her mind pretended that she loved her husband, she said she did, but she didn't like him in her heart. She didn't. Even when she was going through her miscarriage and all of that and the way he treated her, in her heart, she didn't. She stuffed it down. She really did love her son and liked him until she started to see him change. But she likes Amanda, and losing Amanda is very devastating to her because that is her family and that is her lifeline, and which I think is kind of cool. So anyway, back to Gus meeting Jay, and she's like, "Who are you?" I love how she talks. And so then when they kind of make the introductions, when she says to him, "Do you have a criminal record? What was the other one? Do you have a line of credit of debt rather that you didn't pay off?" He's like, "No." "Do you have a mistress somewhere?" He's like, "No." "Do you floss?" "No." "Yeah, yeah, yeah, I floss." Welcome to the family. And Amanda's like, "Yeah," and they're shaking hands. And then he wants to say some stuff about them getting together. And she goes, "Yeah, that's enough of kumbaya." Oh my God. Yes. And Sabrina does blow it with her daughter, but she did the right thing, Avis, right? She didn't film it. You know what I mean? She didn't. She had a conscience. That's why she says something weird happened to the camera. And I love when the cameraman's like, what is his name? Not Gunther. What's his name? I forgot his name. He has a cool name. He's like, "Yeah, you told me to turn it off." Like, I like that. And it'll come together. It will, because they're kin. You know what I mean? They're family. And the town is family. And there they all are working it together. Yes, it did hurt Frankie. It did. True, but it hurt Frankie. It did. You're right. It did. It did. It did. It did badly, but in a good way though. It was all supposed to have to come out. So we've got the S for suspense. And one of the things that I was curious about, what do you think's in that letter? I didn't really stop and pause and zero in, which some of us do, but it's the letter that when she's sitting in Mimi, she being Frankie, and she's going through that little book, which looked like something I have, oh my gosh, with all the recipes in it. And she sees the letter, and she opens, like, she lifts it and it has that seal on it. Was it opened or was it not? What do you think is that letter? Because she takes it out and she wants to go show it, but that's when the place goes up in flames. And Gus is standing there. Yes. And Gus is standing there holding her two daughters' hands, and she says, let it go. It's just junk. That was her way of list. She heard her girls say more than once, and it broke her heart when they said that she didn't choose us. She always chose this junk over us. And after a while, when she looked at it all, she didn't want it anymore. And she's like, let it burn. She stood outside and she held her girls back, and they just watched. And I think it dawned on them why she did it and what it meant, which I thought was pretty, I don't know, I thought it was pretty powerful. And then of course she goes and she passes out. So here is my question about this suspense. What do you think is the letter? What do you think is in it? And then here's I'm throwing that question out. Then I also have another question about her falling over. What do you think? Like, it was pretty serious what she had in the book. What do you think it's going to be in this story? Like, what do you think she actually has? And then the other question that I had was about I'm sorry, let's go with this first, because I got a lot of questions here. All right. Could it be the IOU between Franny and Mimi? It could. It really could be. So then then that would mean that Mimi wouldn't be in such dire straits, right? It could be, right? Yeah, I see that. What about, but why, if that were true, did Gus not know it was in there? I guess she knows all the recipes by heart, that she wouldn't have to look inside to look at the recipes. Or did she choose never to open it because she's so stubborn and not realize what is in there? I don't know. And then also about Gus, I don't know. What do you think? See, it's to Parkinson's. I think the beginning or onset of Parkinson's is what she has in the book. I'm not sure what they're going to make this out to be. And then here's the other thing I was curious about. So she burns her house down. Do you think that because it's a small town, she's going to get away with it? Or, I mean, what are they going to, is she going to be fined and put in jail? Do you know what I mean? Or something. And this other question that I have is, if Nancy and Gus, especially with this letter and the possibility of it, what it means, can find out that, the two of them really have a lot in common and they could become friends. or do you think they could become friends? I don't think it would change the dynamic of the storyline too much, in that next season it could be that they are friends, but Gus is still crotchety and Nancy is still oh pie in the sky, and they could be like a bickering, constant, together kind of friendship. Those two have great scene chemistry together as well. So I have a lot of these questions I'm throwing out there. What are you thinking? Carrie says, could it be an IOU between Franny and Mimi? We discussed that. What do you all think it could be? Ava says, let's see what Ava says. I thought it was sweet when Amanda was remembering about baking pies, and then when she looks in the oven, she had baked it. It was full of magazines and books. I know. Yep, she went and looked inside. I'm just curious. So those are questions that I still have, and I'm wondering, like, one, if those two built a friendship, Nancy and Gus, I think it would work, and they would still be like bickering at each other, because they're so different. In next season, I don't think it would change the dynamics too much of the storyline. Also, I'm wondering if what's going to happen with the burning of the house. Do you think it will be burnt to the ground? Do you think that Gus will have any kind of like repercussions because of it? Like, be fine? Because it is arson, whether it's your house or not, and you endanger people by burning something down. I know it's a small town. I'm just curious how they're going to handle that. And that's it. It was like a powerful episode. And I love how the cleaning of the house had such a big metaphor. It wasn't just the cleaning of the house, it was the cleaning of the town. It was the cleaning of the relationships, the clean out of all of them, which was pretty cool. And then we've got episode 8, and I'm wondering what's going to happen. They could be like Weezer and Claire and Steel Magnolias. Yes. I kind of wonder if there's a little play of Steel Magnolias. You've said that, I think, before, Avis. And okay, so episode 8, and then I wonder how long we'll have to wait. And will they announce right away that we know we have a season 8? I would hate it. Just however they end season 8, I meant to say episode 8. However they end episode 8, just in case we don't get more, I hope it doesn't leave so much dangling that, not that I'm trying to like jinx it, so much dangling that we're unsettled, because I'm quite invested in these characters and in this storyline. Alrighty, and that's that. That is the Chicken Sisters episode 7. Anyone have anything extra to add? Avis, you have Avis, yes. Curry, I don't know if Curry has anything to add. Arlene's not here tonight, or if she is, she's very quiet. So I'll be watching. It will be my last Sunday podcast. That would be a review for a while. Next Sunday, and Monday nights are my reviews of the Christmas movies. And Kathy will be joining me. She actually is coming back from Europe today. She should be here tomorrow, and she's joining me next week. So she won't do any reviews of Christmas movies in October. She said that's sacrilegious. So she'll be joining next month, and I'm excited about it. All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. I will see you tomorrow. Maybe you'll join me tomorrow as we do the review for Holiday Crashers. And Avis is saying she can't wait for tomorrow night. Thank you, Avis. I can't wait either. And then I'll see y'all Sunday. Oh, okay. Good night, everybody.